YouTube. This is day one of my sober journey as a functional heroin addict. I've not yet decided how anonymous I'd like this YouTube channel to be, and that is why this is all you will see of my face for now. I've been using on and off to deal with physical pain for the last couple of years. Massive physical pain. And that is also the reason why me quitting cold turkey with no help and no methadone, my heroin withdrawal does not feel as bad as I normally feel without the heroin, which is why it's hopefully going to be easier for me. And that's why I call myself a functional heroin addict, because I'm not rolling around on the floor throwing up shivers and shakes because I am used to being in that much pain already every day. I'm going to try and make these videos as informative as possible in the hopes of helping somebody else and breaking the stigma, hopefully, because heroin really is just any other drug, and if it's used properly for medication in pain, it could really help. But because it is illegal and it's cut with all sorts of rubbish, it's going to continue to kill people, and people like me can't ask for help because no one sees this side of heroin users. We're all stigmatized in the media as toothless, homeless addicts with really messy lives, no family, no capability to do anything other than roll around in their own feces, surrounded by needles which they litter all over the place. And there's really such a small percentage of the users who are actually like that, and the majority are probably like me. The reason for my recent relapse is a lot of mental health struggles after a very horrible person with a lot of issues smashed my window and attacked my house, and it's made it unsafe for me to live here, and that's triggered my mental health, which I have a lot of and I will go into in other videos, I'm sure. From a physical standpoint, I feel okay. I'm only in as much pain as I usually am, not in much more pain. I slept a lot more, which was really good because I needed it, and I feel quite suicidal and down, but I haven't self-harmed, and I haven't binged or purged, and I haven't used or done anything. I haven't even taken medication today because I want to quit everything. So I haven't eaten yet. I can't eat very much anyway, but I'm going to eat something because I do feel a bit lightheaded. But apart from that, I feel fine. I'm just in the same pain and symptoms as usual, with just a little bit extra pain, tiredness and sickness. I hope to keep this diary, and if it ends up on YouTube, I hope it helps somebody. And if you're quitting, obviously try and ask for help. If you can't get help, you can still do it by yourself. Don't let people scare you into thinking that you can't quit by yourself just because you can't afford help. And good luck, and thank you for watching. Hello everyone, so it's day 2. I made it a day, yay, and I'm too anxious to sleep. It's like 7 AM and I've been crying a lot on and off. Because I just feel so shit, and not because of coming off the heroin. The withdrawal's fine. Like, I still don't feel as bad as I felt before allowing myself to use again because of the pain I was in, and I still don't feel as bad as that. So I still feel better than a normal day, despite being in withdrawal. I've been up all night because of anxiety. I have a lot of mental health problems, and that's one of the reasons that I use other drugs, but the heroin was obviously mainly for pain, which I will get into properly. But I have so many physical illnesses that started about 4 years ago after a head injury. I damaged my nervous system, and now my brain just can't function properly and just causes pain and symptoms all over the place for no reason, and it affects my bones, muscles, nerves, joints, digestive system, reproductive system, nervous system, cardiovascular system, and then like cognitive abilities, memory, thinking, all of those. And there's nobody managing it because it's not one set condition, and because it's all functional things, even though like I can't eat at all now, and the only reason I was given edible tube feed was because I finally became so malnourished that my body wasn't fighting off infection, so I guess it probably cost them more money to treat sepsis or pneumonia than it does to just give somebody tube feed. I don't know. So that took 2 years really of starving properly, and I lost 40 kilos, which is about 6 stone or almost 100 pounds, about 90 pounds before they finally helped. Obviously I was quite overweight then, but yeah, that makes me feel really shit, and the pain has lessened since the weight loss, but I am in so much pain that when I can't eat, sleep, walk, nothing for like at least a couple of weeks, then I'd use heroin, because morphine just won't do anything for it, and morphine doesn't work as well. The way that drugs affect you is by reacting with your brain chemicals, and I'm not a scientist or anything obviously, but heroin binds to your opioid receptors, which are in your brain to process these things, and all different drugs have different chemicals or affect different things, and you have opioid receptors in your brain which are effective with opioid medications, and heroin actually works so much better naturally with your brain and body than morphine does. But the reason they make heroin illegal, I don't know, because it binds so well, maybe. Obviously that makes it more addictive because it works better, but it's no more addictive than alcohol or anything that's like a quick release thing. And from experience of people that I've met, most people I know who use drugs or abuse them is because of mental health. They're dealing with mental pain. But when you are dealing with pure physical pain and only using it for physical pain, it can be such a helpful thing. And I will do a video sometime of me when I'm at my worst. Like, this is me one of my best days, to be honest, with my illness, but I will do a video and show me before and after using. Obviously I will not use on camera, I don't want any of that on my channel, but I will show a video of what I look like before and after use. And it's like my house is so tidy and spotless after I have had a drug relapse, because all I do is housework, and I change the beds and I hoover and I do all of the stuff that I'm too sick to do the rest of the time. And it's so hard mentally not to go back to it, because imagine you couldn't do anything for yourself and you literally need somebody to help you go to the bathroom and wash, and you have to have a male carer sleep in your room as a female when you've been abused, and obviously you just have to put up with that because you need someone with you 24/7 to look after you, because you are that ill, you can't do anything, and you're 25 but you're never going to work again properly, you're never going to drive, go on holidays, go out with your friends, even walk to the shops by yourself. You can't do any of that, and then you take a medication, heroin, that takes all that away, and suddenly you're back to being a young person capable of all these different amazing things and just living life and being a functional human in society. Could you imagine then actually having to stop that drug and choosing actually no, because everyone says that this drug is just horrible and makes me a bad person, would you then stop that drug and live life laying in bed 20 hours a day, 23 hours a day, just to please society because they say that you're a bad person by using that medication? If it was legalised and used as a medication, because that's what all drugs are and that's all medication is, I don't know many people that could. But I'm still staying off it. Obviously it's become a problem lately, and that's why I'm choosing to do this video and make it a recovery video and stay off it. But it always starts off as physical pain, and as long as I stick to my rules that I make for myself, like only using it when it's purely for physical pain, then I never have a problem, and it never becomes a problem, a habit, an addiction. And even at my addiction's peak, I'm still paying for gas and electric and food and bills and phones and making family commitments, and any responsibilities I'm still committing to. And it doesn't affect my life. That's what a functional heroin addict is. But when I start using it then because I just want to get high all day because I'm feeling really depressed, that's when it's a problem. And that's why it's a problem now. But I was very down before I relapsed. So I'm not going to tell mental health about it because it's very, very hard to get help in the UK with mental health, and treatment options are really shocking if you don't have money to pay privately. And obviously I appreciate the NHS so much. I'm not shitting on them, because yes, it's better than nothing, and I'm so lucky and privileged to have that system in place, in theory, and it is better than nothing. But I think bad treatment can do a lot more damage than having no treatment at all. I've been crying out for mental health help for a very long time. I've had so many different diagnoses thrown over the years. I've been diagnosed with bipolar manic depression, and I have psychotic episodes. I have psychotic depressed episodes and psychotic manic episodes that all last months, and then I'm very normal when I'm in between that, except for my borderline personality disorder, which affects me all the time. But that can be under control. It's just the mania and the psychosis, mainly from the depression and bipolar. Then I also have complex PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, ranging from childhood sexual abuse to adult sexual abuse, assault, rape, and being physically beaten by men and becoming disabled, so I can no longer defend myself when I am attacked by somebody. And then just really poor treatment by mental health services and sort of police when I was a kid, and I got beaten up really horrifically and stripped naked by 8 male police officers at 14 years old and locked in a padded cell for 5 days, like the modern equivalent of a straitjacket. And they turned off the cameras, and even like the judge was like, well, why does she look like that? Like, I want to see the footage. And then, oh, we've lost it, the cameras were off for those few hours. So I mean, I've just been let down and abused by so many people. But I don't want it to affect my life. I'm not going to let it take away my life. Like, I'm so lucky to have everything that I do have, and I've got great people around me and stuff, and I'm so lucky, and I'm not going to let it take the rest of my life. I want to make my parents proud of me. I want to make myself proud. I just want to go and achieve some of the things that I know I can do, even if I'm ill and I have to be ill for the rest of my life. I'm trying not to cut this too much or edit things out, because I want it to be real, and I want to show not just the good bits. And I do have some good things to say about drugs occasionally, but I'm going to obviously talk about the bad too, and there's a lot of bad that doesn't get talked about at all. Some really nasty physical symptoms, but luckily I get them already, so that's why it doesn't affect me much now. But there's a lot of like toilet problems that nobody talks about, bathroom problems, like, and your body will never be the same. Any opiate medication over long term, and you will do that, as well as eating disorders over time, and I will go on to that. I have a mental health appointment at 10 AM with the CMHRS, which are just cunts for mental health with no recovery. That's what it should say it stands for. I was supposed to be under a care coordinator and a care team because of all of my mental health conditions, which are very complex needs. And I had an episode that started in about June, so I was trying to contact them since June, and it's now November, nearly December, and I've been contacting them since June 21, saying I need an appointment with my care coordinator. I'm not feeling great, medication's not enough, and I need some help. And yeah, we'll get back to you, we'll get you an appointment. No appointment. Months later, I'm still trying to get one, and then months after that, a lot happened, and I was hurt by somebody, not sexually, luckily, but almost beaten by a male friend, who attacked me at my house, threw a metal ornament at me, and luckily missed, but smashed my window. I had my house vandalised really bad, which, like, the police had to question neighbours from about 200 houses, so like 200 families were affected by the shit that was going on at my house. And it's so embarrassing, because I live in such a lovely neighbourhood. I'm so lucky and grateful for everything I have, but it's just so much shit happened, and that triggered my PTSD, and I was having flashbacks, and the seizures started again because of the flashbacks from the PTSD and night terrors, and it just, my pain got so bad, I was like, fuck it, But usually I'm a very, very clean, safe, sterile heroin user, and when I use, I do inject, but I'd always everything's sterile, and I never share, even when I'm on my bad days, I never share any equipment. But the sterileness, I'd literally treat it as a medical procedure, so everything would be sterile, not just the equipment used to cook up and use it, but I'd wash my hands up to my arms, I'd gel them, I'd gel the surface of anything I was touching. I would not touch my phone or anything once I'd opened the equipment. And I would always test the actual drug first, and then do a very small taster hit first to make sure it was not too strong for me, to make sure it was legit, to make sure it was safe. But when I'm depressed, I just don't give a shit about it, and I feel so bad saying that, because I know it could kill me, but it just feels like, yeah, fuck it, whatever, I don't care. And it's not like I'm gagging for this hit and need it right as soon as I get it, because I'm not physically addicted when I first start out from pain. But yeah, I just cook up like on the floor, wherever I am, like obviously inside someone's house, and I take all my rubbish with me. I don't leave any needles out. I think that's disgusting. Nobody should have to live around that, especially if you've got children, or just if you just don't use yourself. No, I wouldn't want to deal with that, so I don't expect anyone else to. And if you are using, please tidy up your rubbish and take your needles with you until you have a needle bin to put them in, and then take that to a proper place to dispose of them. But I just do it on the floor. I dropped an open needle case on the floor, and I was like, fuck it, I don't care. I just picked it up and I put the whole amount, just a ridiculous dose, which would usually do 3 doses for me. I just put the whole thing in one, like fuck it. And the horrible thing about when you do overdose is when you are injecting with heroin, it's a very instant hit, but you still have about 3 to 5 seconds where you think, oh shit, you know that you fucked up. You have 3 to 5 seconds of realising you shoot up, and then you're like, okay, too much, my body can't handle this, I'm gonna die, 3, 2, 1, and then you're gone. And it's so pointless, and I don't want my family to have to deal with that. I don't want someone to have to go and find my body, and despite how suicidal I am right now, I don't want to do that to my family. No one deserves that. And that's one of the reasons I'm quitting. Well, no, I'm not even gonna lie, that's not a reason I'm quitting. I just don't want to do that to my family. But I feel so guilty about relapsing, and I've only really been back on it properly every day, like most days, for like a couple of weeks. But I can't even share my progress or talk to anybody about it, because nobody knows that I was back on it. And even the ones that do know don't know how bad it is, and they don't know that it's heroin I've been back on, or that I was injecting. So it's like I can't even talk to anyone about it, and crying now, and it's just like there's literally nowhere I can go. There is literally no one I can talk to. And I want to film all of this as much as I can, every side of it. So hopefully I can help somebody else. And if you have been sexually abused, or you're in physical pain, or even if you went through stuff as a kid or years ago, and you just suddenly it's come up now, you've gone through some stress about trivial things, but it's brought up loads of emotional, painful memories of big things that happened a long time ago with people who are nowhere near your life now. It's never too late to talk about it or report it to police, or just tell somebody so they can help. And then you don't have to use, because I know every single person that uses heroin has been through some kind of trauma, abuse, or pain. I think that's going to be it for now. I'm not going to sleep, I've got my appointment. I'm having a little drinky poos, but I'm not going to turn up drunk. I'm just having one and then going to chill. I'm going to use my wheelchair to get there today, I think. And it is going on 8 AM now, so I am going to, I guess I gotta get ready for my appointment. I need to tidy up my face and stop crying before then. I'm trying to be quiet because of the neighbours, but I keep having episodes where I just be screaming and banging my head on the walls and stuff, and it's really hard because I can't help that. But I know you can lose your house from that, and it's not fair on the neighbours. They're ill too, they've got issues too, and I don't want to be a dick. It's just not fair. So if you have a neighbour who's screaming and banging their heads on the walls, please don't hate them. They're probably going through a rough time, and just talk to them nicely, because they're probably not an arsehole. They're probably just going through a lot that's making them scream and shout, and they don't mean it to hurt you. Thanks for watching. Maybe like and subscribe if this ends up on YouTube. Hello YouTube, I made it to day 3. I'm at my parents' house at the moment, which is why the background has changed. I got drunk yesterday with some friends. It wasn't planned. I had one and then carried on drinking, which is really bad for my stomach condition. It was a good night, uneventful, and I didn't use, which I'm so proud of, but I would so not recommend getting drunk this early on into addiction recovery. It is so hard to fight temptation from normal things when you are drunk, let alone a physical addictive drug that you are coming off of. So I won't be doing that again for a long time. I didn't actually try and use, apparently I said once, just once, that I want my drugs, and my friend said, well, we don't have any here, so go to bed. And apparently I was drunk, so okay, passed out. So I'm so proud of myself, because usually getting drunk is a massive trigger for me using drugs, and it's so easy to get them. It's just a couple of phone calls away. So I won't be doing that again for a long time. A couple of things I wanted to talk about today was just some tips that I've realised whilst quitting on my journey that I hope could help some others, because I just talked about myself all day yesterday pretty much, which is boring, and I want to make this channel to help others. So tips that I've learned, I think the number one thing is just staying positive and don't feel guilty. No guilt. Because when you feel guilty for relapsing, it makes you think, oh well, fuck it, I've hurt everyone now, I might as well carry on using. And the biggest way I find to stay sober is not to feel guilty after your little relapses, because they can be little, they can be small. There's no reason why one day of using, one use, should turn into weeks because you'd think, oh, fuck it, I've used now, I'm back to day 1 in recovery, so I might as well make the most of it. And then you go off the rails for months. And I find that's one of the problems with the 12-step programs, not from personal experience, but just sort of from what I've heard of them, is that you have to go back to day 1 and you lose all your chips and all your progress, even if you were clean for years before using once. So I much prefer to count, okay, I've slipped up, but I've only used X amount of times in X amount of years. Now, the more you do that and the longer time goes on, the fewer and farther in between your relapses will be, and the longer you go without relapses, the shorter your relapses will become, until eventually you won't need it altogether and you will be completely sober and you won't even think about it every day anymore. Physically, I feel like I'm getting back to normal now. My symptoms are going away and I just feel back to my normal health problems, which is probably still quite bad for most people. The first 2 weeks are the worst of the physical withdrawal, but then after that it's all mental, and you can do it. My second tip would be to feed your body, nourish your body. Your body's probably missed out on food, even water, minerals, vitamins, all the things you need to be healthy. I find the best way of looking at this is treat yourself how you would treat others that you cared about. I know there's a very big saying of treat others the way you wish to be treated, and that's very true. But not many of us, especially addicts, treat ourselves the way we would treat anybody else. I don't know anybody who's an addict who would starve somebody else, isolate them from all their family and friends, stop them doing any activities they cared about or that made them happy, not feed them, no sleep, no support, having them in dangerous places around dangerous people that you know will hurt them, and then pump them with loads of drugs. I don't know anybody who would put somebody else through the pain they put themselves through as an addict. So start treating yourself how you would treat somebody else that you really cared for. Keeping busy, I think, as I said yesterday, is a massive thing. Time's going to go a lot faster and your recovery will go a lot quicker the more you are doing, because the days will go faster. And even if you won't feel like it, you'll feel ill and horrible, go out and do something. Have a nice bath, a long bath, do your hair or makeup or nails if that's something that you do. Do whatever makes you feel beautiful, because you are, and if you feel beautiful on the inside, you're going to go out with confidence and feel happier, and then you feel beautiful on the outside. Tip number, I don't know if we're in 3 or 4, I've lost count, but go and spend time with loved ones, especially the ones who knew about your addiction and probably haven't seen the real you in a long time. They've only seen you high or starving, living in a house with no gas or electric. It's probably hurt them to see you like that, and just think how happy and proud they would be to see you full of life and energy and just looking happy and eating and sleeping and taking care of yourself. How nice would it be for them to see you like that? even if you only end up being clean for a few days before using again, just even if you end up being clean for a day, if you keep trying, those days will become weeks and then months and years. And that's what I'm trying to do. And you can do it. I'm doing it by myself with no support, help, or anything. I am under a drug rehabilitation service technically, but I get a phone call from them every couple of months and they don't know that I've relapsed because I don't want to be on medication for it. I took my painkiller again today for my physical health problems. It's not an opiate, but it's like a similar effects. I'm still in withdrawal from heroin, but physically it's getting easier and I have so much I want to do and I just want to start doing it. My other tip that I've figured out is going to help me is go and work on old projects or any unfinished projects you started before relapsing and then never finished because you were too high to do them or too sick to do them. Any old hobbies, stuff that makes you happy and that makes you you. Even if it's something you haven't done since childhood, like art or music, or if you love animals, do something that you love doing that makes you feel happy. And I promise, the more you fill your world and your life, your daily life, with activities that you love, surrounded by people and human interaction and just love and warmth and happiness, then you won't need the heroin and you won't need the drugs. Even if you're in physical pain like me and that's the reason for using, if you just try and surround yourself with happy things, and even if it's people you don't really like, but just being around other people is such a massive thing when you're an addict, because if the only people you surround yourself with are other users, when you're high, it's very depressing conversations or none at all, and you're constantly either watching your back so your friends who you're using with don't steal your stuff or rob you or hurt you when you're asleep. And if you do fall asleep around them without your guard up, if you drop that guard, you lose everything. They steal your stuff, they hurt you, they'll rob your house, vandalize stuff, it's really messy and nasty. And when you get out of that circle and start surrounding yourself with regular people with sort of not so chaotic lives and people who aren't out to get you, you'll feel a lot less stressed and anxious and life will get better. If you are suffering with extreme anxiety or any kind of mental health problem that you are self-medicating for with the heroin and it's flaring up because you're sober now, please see a doctor or whoever manages it. And if no one is managing it, tell somebody, see a doctor, a therapist, whichever country you're in, there must be some kind of help. Even if the mental health help is shit, it's better than nothing medication-wise. And don't feel bad about being on medications. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can stay off heroin and continue to take bipolar medications. And it doesn't have to be this all or nothing mentality. When I'm feeling better, I'm going to start exercising again. I'm just going to start off with small physio exercises that will help my health problems. But for anybody who's physically able to, I would definitely recommend working out, build up some muscle. You're probably not going to have very much muscle definition from being on drugs for a long time. And with the eating properly, there also needs to be a balance to make sure you're not just binging and gaining loads of weight and then feeling sick and shit because of that, and then you'll end up back on drugs. Because if you're like me, or eating disorders especially, I know I'm not the only person who would prefer to be addicted to drugs than be fat, subconsciously. And it's not about how you look, it's about how you feel. And if you're just eating uncontrollably because your body has been starving for so long and it's an unconscious response, then you're going to put on so much weight, you're just trading one problem for another. So I find the best way to deal with this is to plan out your meals and try and have lots of home cooked fresh food. And if you eat meat, have lean meat and fish, fresh stuff. And if you don't eat meat, have lots of protein. I'm not a dietitian or any kind of professional of any of the things I talk about, but I know that fresh food helps a lot. And don't just say what you're going to eat, but have a rough idea of what your plan is to eat tomorrow, so that you don't just end up not eating till 10 p.m. and then eating 5,000 calories in one go. Because you will be starving when you first quit, and it will hit you all of a sudden. You won't feel hungry for the first day, 2, maybe even 3 days, but then bang, you will eat. And as soon as that stomach's started, you will just be ravenous and non-stop. So try and manage that by planning healthy meals and eating enough, and allow yourself some chocolate or sweets or sugar. You probably need that too. With the exercise, it can be something as simple as going for a walk, but it will really help your body and mind, and it will give you something to do every day where you can reflect on how the day's gone and reminding yourself of your goals, of why you're doing this, why you're putting yourself through this pain now of quitting, because you're going to have so many amazing things in your life after. I believe they did a rat study before when trying to understand addiction and how some people are more prone to addiction than others, and they tested rats in cages and they gave them water with cocaine and then water with heroin and then plain water. And for years and years, like from the early 1900s I think, they'd done this test repeatedly by many different scientists, and they'd always just put the rat in a cage with the water, and the rat had always picked the drugged water and eventually started not eaten, picked the drugs, and then died, killed itself basically, until I think it was the 60s or 70s. And this new scientist came in and he said, well, no wonder they're picking the drugged water. You're giving them nothing to do. This rat's alone in its cage, probably very depressed, no interaction, no sex, no other friends, not great food, and nothing to do, nothing cognitively stimulating. So he made a rat heaven, and he put this, basically a rat amusement park. It had toys in it, like an obstacle course of tunnels and tubes and slides and running balls and those things they run in. And it had friends, and that was the most important thing. And the rats, not one picked the drug water, and they tested it. I don't know how many rats they tested, but a few, and they all of them ignored the cocaine and heroin water, and they always picked the normal water. And that just showed, I think, that if your life is shit and empty and you've got no people in it, you're probably not working, you've got nothing to keep your mind busy all day, then you get depressed, then you'll always go for the drugs because it's better than the alternative, which is to be alone and depressed in an empty life in an empty room. But when you have things in your life and it's not all down to your control, there's a lot of outside factors that play into this, but as long as you surround yourself with people and try and keep things in your life to keep you busy and pass the time, which is effectively all life is, we're just passing time. Everybody's going to die. I'm sorry that's depressing, but we're all just passing time, we're all just passing through. And if you're making your time count and experiencing things and just filling it with things to enjoy, then you hopefully won't crave the drugs. I've been debating heavily on the subjects I'd like to talk about on this channel and how much I'd like to talk about, because I do want to help other people, and I feel like I have experienced so many different horrible things that a human can go through that I could help others. And there's a lot of areas that there is no support for people, and we have so much support these days, a lot of coverage in the media and everywhere on mental health and trauma and stuff, but for example, I've never seen any video that was made for parents or families of children sexually abused, or the family of addicts, from the addict's perspective or from the child's perspective. And I want to do that while I'm still young enough to remember what it's like to be that child in that situation, because often the addict or the person who's hurting or the victim of abuse, not victim, fighter, the survivor, I hate the word victim, us survivors, we hurt those around us subconsciously, we don't mean it. And I think if the families of those who have been hurt and are hurting because of their decisions they're making, if the families knew what it was like to be that person and could hear some kind of explanation from somebody who's been through that and who has been on the other side, then maybe it wouldn't hurt them so much, and they'll be in a better place and more equipped to talk about the issues with their loved one, and hopefully, if not change the situation, at least ease the pain that is caused by the situation, because it does hurt those we care about and those around us, but it's not our fault and it's not intentional. And I think it's important for the people who are looking after the aftermath of that to understand from an inside perspective. I also want to talk about mental health on my channel and lots of other things, including psychosis and borderline personality disorder. I did have a mini psychotic episode last night, but luckily I don't remember much of it. I was told I was seeing and hearing things and I was very scared, but I told my friends about it and they looked after me. and they just sat there and reminded me of their names, because I don't remember who anybody is when I'm psychotic. My friends didn't shout at me, they didn't get annoyed or upset. They just reminded me where I was, what year it was, who I was with, and that I was safe, and what was real and what was not. And I'd ask them, is that person real? Was that person real? Are you real? And they would tell me which was real and which they could not see. And that helped so much and made me feel safe, and eventually it passed and I was able to ignore it long enough to go to bed. It's going to be hard the next few days because I am around family, so I feel like I'm under scrutiny the whole time, because I can't just hide my symptoms if I feel like I want to sleep all day or I'm feeling sick. But luckily my family are used to being that ill already, so it just means I'm gonna have to pretend to have more energy than I do have currently. But tomorrow I'm gonna do my makeup and my hair nice. I'm gonna try and make an effort and go outside, and even if I have to go out in my wheelchair, I'm gonna go outside and see the sun, because it's beautiful. Go and see the sun when you're sober, with sober eyes, when you have not seen it for a long time. And if you have nothing constant in your life that you can rely on to feel safe, to feel secure, then what I do is I look at the sun and I know the sun will rise and the sun will set, and that is the only constant thing you can rely on. So even if you have nothing, even if you don't have a stable place to live and you don't know when you're going to stay tonight, so you have no kind of safety net to think, okay, this thing in my life is constant and this will always be here no matter what. That sun will always rise and the sun will always set, and that will always be constant no matter where you are, no matter where you're sleeping or what drugs you are on, or if you're sober or working or who's hurt you. That is your friend and that is your safety net. So try and look at that the next time you're up for a sunrise, and I hope it makes you feel safe. I think that's going to be it for today. It's been quite a happy talk today, I think, and I will check in tomorrow, and I hope everybody's doing okay who's trying to stay sober, and I hope this helps someone, and if I help just one person, that's all that I want, and it will make it all worth it. Again, if you are quitting, try to ask for help. If you either can't afford it or you can't ask anybody because no one knows you've relapsed like me, then remember that you are strong and capable and loved and so worthy of a happy life and a drug-free life, and you are so strong and so capable of doing this. And when you look back, you won't even remember this pain that you are in now. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll check in tomorrow.